good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are in good health and have a productive day. Today, we are pleased to have the ERC funding opportunities info session that is a joint effort of four EURAXESS hubs, ASEAN, China, Korea, and Japan. So my name is Tatas Sudarmo. I base in Indonesia, and together with my colleagues, Leonie Nagarajan, based in Singapore, serve as a EURAXESS worldwide representative for ASEAN region. Leonie is there. Hello, Leonie.
Thank you so much, Tatas, and thank you to all participants for joining us today. Wonderful to see the high numbers. As Tatas said, my name is Leonie. I'm based here in Singapore. Together, we cover all the 11 ASEAN countries. And I think we hand over now to our next colleague a bit further north in China.
Good afternoon from Beijing. My name is Carlos. I am the China representative for EURAXESS. I'm very glad to see the big number of participants and the distinguished speakers lined up for today.
Good afternoon for those in Asia and good morning for those in Europe. My name is Thomas. I am based in Seoul. Together with my colleagues, I represent the EURAXESS initiative. We promote Horizon Europe, and within Horizon Europe, we are also focusing on ERC, and this is one of our flagship events. We are happy to promote ERC in more details with this webinar. I'm happy to see all those participants joining right now.
Thank you so much. Great morning to the European audience again, and a wonderful sunny day in Japan. Great welcome, warm welcome to the Japanese audience as well. I'm Judith Erikomador, country representative of EURAXESS Japan. And I would have to say this is the first collaboration with EURAXESS ASEAN, China, and Korea. And we have a great number of participants, and we're very happy to welcome everyone in this joint webinar. Let's start with the opening remarks, which will be delivered by Gijs Berends, our Head of Science, Innovation, Digital, and Other EU Policies section at the delegation of the European Union to Japan. Gijs, the floor is yours. Please deliver your.
Thank you, Judith. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I'm indeed Gijs Berends. I'm the head of the Science and Innovation section at the EU delegation to Japan. It's a real pleasure to be with you. And at the outset, I would like to say, I think it makes sense that you are interested in applying to funding under the European Research Council, because it's a wonderful research funding program. And if you analyze a little bit past grantees, you can really point to their highly cited publications that come out of the funding, the many startups or patents that they have developed with ERC funding. There's also amongst the grantees a large number of Nobel Prize winners. We have field medals winners, other major prize winners. So the conclusion is really there is something prestigious about the ERC. I read an article this month in the Times Higher Education, this publication, and the journalist is referred to the ERC as the Champions League of research. So its reputation is really excellent. That, of course, in itself has already an appeal. At the same time, maybe also important to point out that it should also not deter you from applying, thinking that it is too prestigious or too high level, because there are many grants that tailored are to each and every stage of a researcher's career. So it's really something wonderful to apply to. Maybe a few developments in recent years. You'll see that there are more and more applicants. So it is already competitive, but the number of applicants is on the increase, and you can see this in all grant categories. At the same time, the Commission has put a proposal on the table that for the next 7 years of funding, that the ERC should benefit from a doubling of its budget. Now, we have to see if this proposal makes it through the legislative machine, but I think there's a good understanding that there's a chance that the budget will increase, so that's positive. And there's also still new grant schemes being designed. There's a new scheme which is called ERC Plus Grant, which is now up to 7 years and up to 7 million euros of funding for a mono-beneficiary grant, which is just amazing. So that is really something to look into. Well, I think if you add it all up, it just shows that Europe is a place where the research community is valued very much. And if you listen to the president, Ms. Sleptin, president of the ERC, she said it very eloquently. She said, what the world needs is peace and sanity. And that is indeed the case. And Europe is therefore a really good place, maybe even the best place to do research right now. So we're very happy to have your interest. I would like to wish you good luck in your application process, and I hope you will enjoy this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opening, and I'm pleased to introduce you our two speakers. Today we are very pleased to have Benjamin. Benjamin, hello. Good to see you again here. Benjamin is the scientific officer from the European Research Council. And then we also today have the testimonial speaker, Professor Novi. Professor Novi Quadrianto, he is a professor of machine learning at University of Sussex, UK. He has received from the ERC starting grant, and also ERC proof of concept, and also the Horizon Europe Pillar 2, Cluster 4, Digital Industry and Space. So he's very famous. He is very expert in this. So Benjamin, so the time is yours to open with the unlocking the ERC grants for ASEAN researchers. Benjamin.
Thank you, Tatas. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome from Brussels. Greeting from Brussels. And I cannot say that it's a blue sky like in Japan, unfortunately, but I'm very pleased to be here with you, and thank you for access for this opportunity. I'm always very happy to talk with people from Asia, since I was based there for a while, and it's dear to my heart. So maybe I will start with maybe the key point of this presentation, because I have a lot of slides and a lot of details which I will fly through, and depending on question, I can come back to the point that you are more interested, because I heard there's a lot of diversity in the audience. But to come back to the metaphor used in the opening speech, which I like very much, indeed, I think ERC is a Champions League of research. But there's a difference with the Champions League in football, because in Champions League in football, it's only open to European clubs, whereas ERC is open for everybody in the world. So that's a huge difference. So I think it's a very good metaphor to explain, to describe the level of research that is made, like it's a top football level. But the key message here is that you from Asia, you can apply to ERC. So let's jump in right away. Yeah, okay. So ERC is part of this big program that we call Horizon Europe, which finance all research in Europe and beyond. And our total budget is 16 billion within this framework program. ERC, the European Research Council, is a bit an alien in the EU institution, because we are part of the European Commission. We are just a part of the Commission, bound by the regulation, got the budget from them. But we have a scientific governance done by scientists. So basically, to use a bit of Churchill, the ERC is for scientists by scientists. And the key principles that govern our work is that scientific excellence is our only criterion of selection of projects. And we found individual scientists, not institution. And the key for us is not, unlike all other parts of the Commission, we don't choose priority subject or topics. We are completely bottom-up, so we believe that researchers are in the best place to know what is the best topic and the best methodology to search. So it's a complementary initiative with all the other part of Horizon Europe of the European Commission, which target specific field and specific needs in Europe and in the world. But here in ERC, we try to really spot what is the best excellent science that is done today. So quick, I will not go through, I will not go in detail, but you can see clearly that our budget is going up, and we have good hope that in the next framework program, starting in 2028. We will have more budget even. As it was said, we have a lot of application. The rate is going up, and we want to have the success rate still quite high. I mean, still at the same level. So we need an increase in the budget, not mentioning the inflation. So we have good hope, but this will be up to the negotiation between Parliament, member state, and so on. So I'm part of the executive agency that helps the scientific council to implement the program. If you come in Brussels, I'm in this building in the 25th floor. So come say hi. So we are governed by the scientific council. As you can see here, I won't go through all the names, but you can see that all the different disciplines. I mean, there's a lot of diversity of discipline represented in the scientific council, yeah. So why should you apply for an ERC grant? Because, as I said, it's bottom up. So if you would choose your own topic, you will get at least for 5 years financial autonomy, because we give a budget for 5 years up to 7 for ERC plus. And normally, if you get an ERC grant, you have kind of kind of a label of excellence. So normally you have more latitude to negotiate with our host institution, and also your salary is paid by the grant, basically. So it puts you in the right position to recruit your own team and attract excellent people from all over the world. And what is very important feature of ERC grant is that what we call the portability. So you are not bound to one particular institution, but you are free to move within Europe. So you could start, in UK like Novi, and then decided that because of your study or because of lab needed, you can go in Spain and so on. So this portability of grant is also very important to guarantee the freedom of researcher, and it shows that the grant is linked to a person and not to an institution. So we have 6 different types of grants. We have the 3 at the top is based on the seniority level. So we have starting grant, consolidator grant, advanced grant. All these 3 are based on the year of PhD. So for starting grant, after from PhD graduation until 10 years after, you can apply there. From 5 to 15, you can go to consolidator grant and so on. Why we do that is because we don't want people very senior to compete with people very junior, and so is to kind of help people to have the same kind of equality of success, of chance of success, of probability of success. So, for instance, in my portfolio, I have 2 Nobel Prize in economics, Jean Tirole and Philippe Aghion, and we don't want them to compete with their students, basically. That would be a bit tough. And also, you could see that in starting grant normally is very young people. So normally, I mean, we see that innovation and creativity is very high in starting grants. So I mean, it's kind of different crowd there applying. Then we have 3 different other grants. We have the proof of concept, and I can come back to each one of those if there's some question. Proof of concept is when you already have a grant and you have a particular, you have an idea of an application based on your ERC grant, and it's a complementary grant to design a marketable innovation. Synergy grant is a completely different category. So this is a collective grant. You can have from 2 to 4 researcher, principal investigator, and it's for 10 million for 6 years. And there, which can be interesting for you, one researcher can be based anywhere in the world. Because I will come back to it, but for an ERC grant, you can apply from anywhere in the world, but then you have this, if you get a grant, you have this condition that you need to spend 50% of the time in Europe, 50% of the time, and then 50% of the time wherever you want. So for synergy grant, there's an exception. There's 1 PI out of 4 or 2 or 3 that can be based full-time outside. And synergy grant, as the name point out, is a very interdisciplinary type of grant. So the idea is like, I don't know, I was following one grant lately on cryptocurrency, and so there was a mathematician, computer science, and economist and a lawyer all together working on that grant, because this topic requires a lot of different perspectives. And as it was mentioned in the opening, we have the new ERC Plus, which is for 7 million, total of 7 million budget. Is our bigger grant, once in a lifetime, for a duration of 4 to 7 years. So it's also the longest grant we have. And this is part of the program launched by the President of the European Commission, Choose Europe. And so with this, we try to kind of be really attractive to really top researcher in the world. But again, I can come back to it if there's a question about that one. So as I said, the only criterion of evaluation that we are looking at is excellence. Of course, we keep in mind diversity in terms of discipline, in terms of any kind of diversity, gender diversity, geographical diversity. But the decision to select a project is based on excellence of the research project, how much is it original and ambitious, and excellence of the researcher, basically his capacity, what can or she can do. So I will come back to this if it's needed, if somebody is currently applying. I have a couple of slides for people who are really already applying, and I have more general slides for people who are not really well versed in the topic. So what you need to know is that our selection process is based on 2 steps. So when you write your proposal, you have 2 parts. One part will be given to experts at step 1, and they will act as a generalist. So they will maybe not exactly expert in the topic of the proposal, but then it's kind of a triage of the best, the most promising proposal, which would go to step 2. And at step 2, between step 1 and step 2, we are hunting external experts with expertise exactly at the core of the proposal. And this is a very big exercise for us, because we recruit more than 10,000 experts per year. So that's really an important exercise, but this is how we guarantee the integrity and the excellence of the process. So the way it's organized, our work, we are organized in panel. So there's 3 domains: life sciences, physical science and engineering, social sciences and humanities. Myself, so for Novi, is based in the domain physical science and engineering, I imagine. And myself, I'm working in the social science and humanities panel, and more precisely in the SH1 and SH2 panel, which is basically economics, political science, and law. So I put you really 2 examples, but I think Novi will speak more about his experience and his projects, because he had a couple of grants. So one is from my panel SH1, is actually a former panel chair of ERC, Natalia Fabra, who is a grantee. And she's in energy economics, and she was looking at the dynamic in the electricity market in EU. And actually, just before there was this big like failure of electricity grid in Portugal and Spain. So she actually had a lot of policy relevance and advice to the government or to do. Another example that is not from my domain is how pregnancy reshape the brain of mothers. And this lead to actually medical application. So when we select projects, it's like during COVID, one of the vaccines that we got is actually the knowledge is derived from an ERC grant. At the time of the grant, we just look at, okay, this researcher is great. He thinks that this is what should be researched, and the methodology is top level. So let's fund him. And 10 years later, actually, because of this research on the ERC grant, not only ERC grant, but also because of ERC grant, we got a vaccine very quickly that helped us to survive COVID. So now I'm coming a bit to let me check a bit the time. Okay. I'm coming to a preconceived idea about ERC. So you should know that we try to maintain the same success rate across disciplines. That's why we distribute the budgets based on the number of applications. So for instance, You know, in a starting grant SH1, I got only 120 applications. I mean, it's already a lot, but I got 120 applications. And so we had a bit less budget because we are the smallest panel in terms of number of proposals. But when I was in SH2, in consolidator grant, which is normally higher seniority level, so there should be less number, I had close to 200 proposals. So there I had got more budget. And so we do that to make sure that wherever your field is, you can apply with the same success rate. So I already said that those institution is not important by itself. It's not an evaluation criterion. And also some people think that, especially in economics in SH1, they believe that if you don't publish in top 5 journal, you have no chance to get an ERC, which is not true. We have statistical analysis that demonstrate the contrary. I mean, not the contrary, but that is not relevant to have publication in top level journals. What matters is the quality of the research. So few rumors again on the preconceived idea. So only when you are really accomplished and with a set career you can apply to ERC. This is wrong. That's why we are starting grants, consolidator grants, and advanced grant. But probably Novi will explain about that because he piled up grants. So I think he started from somewhere and build up from there. So this is. The rumor too is a bit, it depends on case-to-case basis, but some people believe that you need to work a lot and be established in one particular methodology, one particular topic, to be legitimate enough to apply to ERC. So sometimes it's true. I mean, there is some grant for people who are in the same research line, but sometimes the contrary is also true. And I was in panel meeting, actually my colleagues are in panel meeting right now, and I was in panel meeting yesterday. And sometimes there are some people who change completely methodology and field, and they also have chance of success. Another preconceived idea is that if you have a ERC grant, you have less chance to have a second one. So Novi is there to prove that it's not true because he got several. And then some people believe the contrary. So when you have a ERC grant, you have more chance to have another one. So according to statistics, again, both are untrue. And what I can say, though, is that based on our statistics, the more you apply, the more you have chance to get one. And the probability is higher when you apply several times than the first time. Yeah, and so one rumor for is very important, and also because I just gave example of societal utility, societal relevance. So at the time of evaluation of the proposal, we don't look at that. We don't look at the impact on society. Sometimes we found people completely abstract mathematics or theoretical economics, and we don't have a practical application for it. We also found humanities. So sometimes, we found like ethnomusicology of Chinese opera. I say what comes to my mind. So I mean, there's no, at the time of evaluation, we don't look at societal, medical, clinical application. But of course, what we believe is that when you fund science, there will be some positive externalities down the road. But at the time of evaluation, what we want is excellent research. And we don't know what will happen because this is the nature of research. If you know at the time of the proposal what will happen, then probably it's not a good science. So I come back to this Champions League open to everybody in the world. All players of the world are welcome in Europe. So as I said, the only condition you have is at least 50% of the time based in Europe. But then the rest of the time you can go wherever you like. And especially I mean, in my panel, I have a lot of development economics. So people go in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia. And yeah, and they are based in Europe, but they are all over the world. So part of this program that I mentioned from President von der Leyen, Choose Europe, we receive some extra funds to help people coming in Europe. So we have up to 2 million euro to help people from other parts of Europe to actually set up in Europe. So that's also an information I think that can be useful if you are afraid to move in Europe. There is some help there. So beyond the grants that I was mentioning, and I still have 7 minutes and 10 seconds, Beyond all these grants that I mentioned, the 6 grants, there's also other opportunity to work with ERC or with ERC grantees. One is to directly work for a grantee. So let's say somebody is working in, so the example I just gave before. So somebody is working in SH1 panel economics on the impact on the universal income, on the livelihood of villagers. And you have like one random control trial in Tanzania, one in Laos, and one in Brazil. And so there, it would make sense to recruit researchers from Brazil, Tanzania, and Laos. So the first opportunity is to work with actually grantees and to implement their research program. The other opportunity is visiting fellowships programs. So some countries use ERC grants to finance research visits. So this is not organized directly by ERC, but they use ERC fund and ERC grants to organize these visiting fellowships. So I had, I try to give a concrete example. So I have this this researcher based in Manchester, and she's working on human rights and jurisprudence of international courts. And to do so, she invited one of the judges of the African Court of Human Rights and Latin American Court of Human Rights to make a visiting fellowship in Manchester so they can work together. Another opportunity is the implementing arrangement. I will come back to it in a couple of slides to give more details because looking at participants, there's some opportunities there, especially in China and Thailand and so on, and Korea. I'll come back to it. And the last opportunity you have is a mentoring initiative. So there is a way for ERC grantees applicants, to receive support to actually apply. So normally it depends. So there's several mechanisms there. There's the Association of ERC Grantees who actually help people who want to become grantees to apply. And then depending on countries and national research agencies, there's also different mentoring initiatives. So going back to the implementing arrangement, so we have 19 such arrangements in the world. And you can see on that slide that we have Singapore, India, Korea, China, Thailand, and Japan currently. So you can see, I will not go through the list, but you can see the list of the funding agencies that are partner to this initiative. And what does it do? What happened is that there's some, so what the ERC is doing is that they ask all the grantees who is open to welcome a researcher from partner countries. The grantees express their interest. Let's say there's a grantee who say that I'm interested to work with Korean researchers because they are very strong in that particular methodology or because of my field study or whatever. Then this information is communicated to the funding agency of Korea, and then they take it from there and organize a selection. Then a visit can be organized or integration of the team during the lifetime of ERC project. And yeah, so this also, I can come back to it about the detail of the procedure if somebody is interested. I still have 3 minutes, so I will go through that one and come back if somebody is applying. Yeah, so some general advice if you are applying. So obviously, the most important thing is to work on your research project. That's the start. I mean, that's probably the only thing you really need, and you really need to know and to really make sure. Because if you do get a grant, it's for 5 to 7 years. So I mean, yeah, that must be a topic that you find promising and interesting to you. Then you need to have a host institution support letter from Europe. This usually is quite easy because it's not costly for institution to give a letter because basically they just say, in case you get a grant, I will welcome you in my place. but the grant will pay your salary and will pay your way to migrate to travel to Europe. So it's really not costly. And on the contrary, in case you get it, is very good for them because it's good for their ranking, and ERC grants are counted in the international ranking and the national ranking also. The thing you have to make sure and be careful about is eligibility criteria. So you have to be really careful about that, not applying. It still happens. People apply for the wrong call. So this you have to be really careful. And so I told you there's two-step evaluation. So one mistake I saw very often is to put too much in part B1, which is the part of the proposal that the synopsis that the panel member, when they act as generalists, they analyze. So some people put too much there, and then it's a bit difficult to understand. Or some people don't put enough, and they wait part B2 to put like more detail on the research design. So this is really a place where I see at each panel meeting people are failing there. So yesterday I was in step 2 panel meeting, so it's already, but 3 weeks ago I went in step 1 and I saw that mistake. What is important, if you can, is if you go to step 2, is to make mock interviews. This helps a lot to have your ID clearer. And I would say even before interview, it's very good to have some interaction with people, not even from people like really from your field, star of your field or not, or more senior, to your cousin that doesn't know anything about science. Because again, in a panel, so in SH1, yesterday I had application on finance, but then there was econometrics, econometricians, development economics, labor economics, and they don't know much about finance. So you need to be able to make your project understood widely, and in the same time you have to be at top level of your sorry, I have no time left. So you have to be at the top level. So I will go very quickly then to the end because I don't want to abuse of the time. So this is very important. So when to apply? You can see that already Advanced Grant 26 is open right now. You can see that ERC Plus is open right now. And very soon starting grant will open. So based on what you are looking at, if you are very much senior in your career, it will be for Advanced Grant. If you are at the top level of your field, is ERC Plus. And then if you just graduated PhD or you are within 10 years after your PhD, with some exception for maternity, for military service and so on, but more or less 10 years, then it's in July. So here are some ERC figures. So how to say? Yeah, we funded 14,000 researchers. We have 15 Nobel Prize that will receive a grant. And yeah, maybe this, if I come back, if I have a question, because you can see here some figures that I was digging in our database on people from China, for instance. People from China receive 105 grants since the start of ERC. And out of total of all grants, 8% are from people outside EU and partnership country. If you need more information, but I think the slide will be circulated, you have some video made by some colleague how to apply to a grant and how to manage a grant, and that's it. If you need more information, you can also contact me by email here. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, apa kabar? So thank you, Benjamin, for excellent introduction of the ERC programs. I have an experience with the ERC starting grant, ERC proof of concept, but also implementing arrangement that Benjamin mentioned. And what the purpose of this particular testimonial, I'll be very brief, and it just to give a flavor of what was my research, and maybe to give also flavor what ERC give, because it's really a prestigious, excellent grant, and also some advice tips if it is useful. So my research area is in the AI machine learning. So I'm under physical science and engineering, as Benjamin said, PE and PE6, that's computer science informatics. And there I identified in my research area, there are two challenges. One is algorithmic fairness, which ensuring machine learning decision, they are fair with respect to protected characteristics such as race, gender, marital status. That's one challenge in the AI machine learning. The other challenge, the second big challenge, is also about algorithmic transparency. That's where the machine learning AI algorithms need to be able to provide information to the human and allow the human to challenge the decision. And it was at that time when I was applying, those two big challenges are solved separately. They were tackled separately. And my hypothesis was they are interconnected challenges and they should be best solved together. And that's exactly what my ERC starting grant projects. When we solve them together, we will get AI machine learning that goes far, fair, accurate, robust, transparently. And what this building an ERC project means. As Benjamin already mentioned, this is a 5-year horizon. Excellent duration for us, for you, for everyone to have a freedom to explore this high-risk idea. So it let me pursue really groundbreaking research on trustworthy machine learning. And it's also allowed me to grow my research lab, my research team. I'm based mostly in the UK, but Benjamin mentioned that, I can port my ERC grants to some other country. He gave an examples of Spain. Indeed, I brought part of my ERC grant to Spain, where I actually co-direct a trustworthy machine learning lab in Bach Center for Applied Mathematics in Bilbao, Spain. That's thanks to the ERC. And also thanks to the ERC, it allowed me to be embedded. We have in the Europe so-called European Lab for Learning and Intelligent Systems. This is an EU-Europe level networkings of AI machine learning researchers, where one of the ideas is like we can jointly co-supervise PhD student or postdoctoral, where the PhD student postdoc can move from one lab to another labs. And I use the ERC grant money to co-supervise the PhD students from Spain and from Germany and also from Italy. And thanks to the ERC grant as well, I always have the intention, I was already away from the country where I was born, Indonesia, but I wanted to stay connected and to contribute something. And with the ERC grant as well, it allowed me to have the connection, collaboration with Monash University in Indonesia, in Bumi Serpong, Damai. And the ERC starting grant allowed me to also expand on the research topics, research applications. So one thing is I got invited to join the EU funding consortia, and that's the Tango projects, emphasizing about mutual understanding between human and machine. And the ERC starting grant also allowed me to apply for ERC proof of concept to bring the research on trustworthy machine learning closer to the industry, to the application. And then thanks to the ERC proof of concept and the original starting grant, we are actually in the potential spin out so-called Astute AI that try to really translate this algorithmic fairness, algorithmic robustness, algorithmic transparency into the application domain, mostly in financial services. So as you have already heard, it funds the persons and the idea. There is no predefined deliverables. I can make a contrast between ERC starting grant and the EU Horizon RIA, the Tango, completely different in terms of deliverables. So it's a long horizon, bottom-up freedoms and room to follow science. It's excellent research grants and highly recommended. It changed my career. So how do I find ERC? I studied in Australia. So it was actually going further away from all of you. You are in Asian, Japan, Korea, China. I was in Australia. I need to go really far from Australia to Europe. And actually, the way I found ERC is during my PhD in Australia, a research visitor came to Australia and we make a connection, and then I decided to visit him for months in Germany, and then based on that particular connection as well, I spent over a year in Austria. That's where I got to know ERC, and the things here is it's not needed to have a collaboration in Europe, but what I feel beneficial is because I can get the feedback, I can get an example of successful proposals once you build that particular connection. That's what makes a difference. When you have the mock interview, it makes a difference as well to have the advice, to have the perspective from those people who have received the ERC grant. So my advice to all of us, to all of you, when we want to go far, whatever it means for us to go far, we can start connecting individually with researchers directly. That's my route in. But you can also connect in terms of a project. So there are a lot of mobility calls run inside the funded EU project. You need to find that. It's not easy, but I give an examples. For example, there is an Elliott mobility. So this is in the AI machine learning, where you can spend weeks to months in Slovenia, and you can get connected in terms of this European ecosystems there. You can also connect in the institution level. Use university ERC preparation fellowship to host your application. So this, since it is a very prestigious grant, a lot of university institution would like you to apply and put them as the host institution. So an example is there is a university in Germany that actually they have specific ERC preparative fellowship. And the fourth one is TAP National and ERC level mobility. So one thing is I give an example of visiting fellowship that's for the Italian Research Council and the ERC, but also highlighting again I put it international arrangement. I think this is part of that international arrangement. There is this implementing arrangement that you can make use of that and connect with the European researchers. So with that, I'm done, and let's go far together wherever it brings us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Novi. And with that, we have reached the end of our presentation section. So we are going to have a look at the queries, the questions. We actually have a lot of them. And let's try to find the ones that are more about general queries, because I'm afraid we do not have time for individual advice. So, for example, there is a question, foreigners who are New Zealanders, working in China, are they eligible for an ERC grant? And that's a definitive yes. And this is also true for all other questions where people are working in a country that is not, where they're not citizens. So please bear with us. We cannot answer all those queries individually.
Yeah, that's why I started my presentation with this statement that indeed is open to anyone. I mean, if there were people on Mars, I think we will welcome them. They just need the host institution later and to come in Europe 50% of the time. Yes,
we also got several questions about how many years after their PhD completion or how many years in academia they would have to be working. And again, please have a look at the table that Benjamin showed. The answer to those queries you can find on the ERC website. So please pull up the website. We can't go through the table again. Please count the years after the completion of your PhD and whether you're eligible. Right. We also have a question of where each and every, well, several questions actually, where each and every research discipline would fit. Again, I recommend that you have a look at the ERC website because we can't go through each and every discipline and research field. So if you have those kind of questions, it's recommended that, again, you have a look at the dashboard or the portal itself. More general questions about reapplication, for example. Are there any restrictions on applying again the following year after an unsuccessful first attempt?
Yes, unfortunately there is. And there was this debate lately that we should actually make it more strict because we have too many proposals, but then when the scientific council tried to go towards that direction, they realized that the reception was not so good. So they came back to this. So the rule remains the same. If you get, so there's 3 grades at step 1. A, you go to step 2, and you will be listening in an interview. B, you cannot reapply for 1 year. And if you get a C, then you cannot reapply for 2 years. Then if you go in step 2, 2 grades there, I mean, basically funded or not funded. If you are not funded in step 2, there's no restriction on reapplication. So that's, and the other limit, but this is only for ERC plus, is that if you get a grant, you can never reapply. It's once in a lifetime. It's only once that you can get this grant. That's the only, and if I come back to, my main message is that ERC grants are open for anyone, whatever your discipline, whatever the country you are from or going, is open. You can be like a metaphysician or like theoretical mathematics or whatever, you are welcome. And for the eligibility, we just have 3 different kind of windows, but basically at any stage of your career, you can apply. So the key message here is that it's open to anyone.
Thank you. Another general query, how does the ERC track the 50% effort spent in Europe? Passport stamps, travel records, what's the methodology on that?
Okay, this is not really my field. This is done by my legal colleagues, but maybe Novi, since he has a grant, can say, basically you have to fill up time sheets, but maybe I can let Novi because you have a practical experience of this.
Yeah, Benjamin, that's correct. There is a timesheet, and I think this is the host institution will make sure that that you satisfy the legal requirements, 50% or above 50%. But timesheet is the requirement indeed.
But I work in UNDP or ASEAN Development Bank, and you have the same kind of mechanism to. I mean, this is really standard.
Thank you. So another general query is how they find host institution, and I think it's kind of straightforward for everyone, but if Benjamin or Novi, you could say a few more words because we actually got 5 questions about that.
I think Novi did a very good job with this slide, explaining his practical way of doing it. I think there's many different ways. You can basically write to institutions or to researchers. You can actually, normally, if you are a researcher, you participate to conferences or you have co-author, or you contact other authors because they have a paper similar to your field of expertise. There's infinity way of contacting of institution, but I think the slide of Novi was super clear and super helpful, and I was actually impressed that you did all this.
Another general query, technology readiness level, if it's evaluated, and what's the level of technology suitable. This is actually mostly true for ERC grants for Pillar 3, but it can also be relevant in some cases.
I'm not sure to answer that because, I mean, what question we ask ourselves is about feasibility. If you have a research program, you need to be, I mean, you have to be credible that you are able to implement it. But then if you do a research for ERC, it should be groundbreaking. So it should be something completely new.
I wouldn't sure as well about the TRL levels. I would assume it's a basic fundamental research. In the proof of concept, of course, that's where you are required or asked to bring TRL level 2 or 3 or something like that. But I think in the main grants, I don't think there is any statement about the TRL level.
Transitioning from research fields. So how common is it for researchers or professionals to transition into a different research field from their original academic background, and whether they can successfully apply for ERC grants?
Again, I'm not so sure how to answer that because it's really depend on each career path. But I mean, there's no limitation, and on contrary, interdisciplinarity is encouraged. So basically, if you are from one field and you go to another one, you are by nature interdisciplinary. So I think it's more like an advantage than a weakness. I have so I will not say his name because it's not public, but I have a panel member who is an ERC grantee that I was working in yesterday, and he's actually graduated in physics, but now he's expert in economics. So, I mean, I think he's kind of welcome. The only question is that is it the researcher is doing excellent research in the field of the proposal? That's all we are looking at.
Thank you. Another general query for ERC Plus. What kind of evidence convinces reviewers that a project is not simply a larger ERC advanced grant or a research infrastructure project, but a genuinely field transforming scientific intervention that requires the full ERC Plus scale?
Well, that's a tough question because now we are talking about something that has not happened yet. It's a very relevant question. I like it, and it's a question that the panel member will have themselves. I'm not sure they are public the identity of the panel member of ERC Plus, but yeah, I think so. You can see. So maybe I can. Well, I will not come back to my slide, but I have slide on ERC Plus, and you can see that at step 1 is actually the advanced grant panel member who will pre-select the ERC Plus that will go to step 2. And then in step 2, you will have a dedicated panel with a really high-level profile, super high-level profile with double price, for instance. So why we do it in the same time is to allow the advanced grant panel member to compare what they have in advanced grants, what they have there, and it should be something even more advanced, more groundbreaking than the advanced grant. And I'm afraid the selection will be just a matter of numbers because we have only 30 ERC Plus to give, whereas we have 100 of advanced grants. So, I mean, this is really need to be at the top level of what is made. But I'm afraid I can't really answer precisely because this will be debated. This probably will be the first thing debated when we have the panel together, basically.
Thank you very much. And again, I think it would be another good question to pick. Is the statement of vision, in the statement of vision, sorry, should the applicant prioritize the simplicity of the central breakthrough claim or the complexity of the implementation plan?
So for me, I think you need to do both, unfortunately. But maybe Novi have a real experience. I never wrote a successful ERC grant. I saw many, and I saw many unsuccessful. So I have some ideas. But Novi did write a successful ERC grant, so probably.
I would agree with both, I guess. I mean, because you are also highlighting about this, the B1 and the B2 part, I suppose. I mean, this is the things that is the B1 is not just a short version of the B2. It's a completely a different targeting for the B1 and B2, and that's where you can take the approach differently there as well.
Yeah, so I would say to complement that in part B1, so what they have access to as step 1, you have to be kind of a teaser. So you need to show ambition and poke the curiosity of the panel members. So for that, you need kind of simplicity because you need to embark even panel members who are not from your field. But then you will have panel members very close to your field in step 1, and if they believe that it's just a PR stunt, if it's just like a marketing or like a story that is given, then you will not fly to step 2 for sure. So that's why you need both. You need to kind of seduce people who are acting as generalists, and you need to also convince people who are actually in the field that this is groundbreaking and it can fly and it can be implemented. And all this in step 1 and even more in step 2. Because even in step 2, I mean, the length of the proposal is not infinite. So even there, you need to make some choice of what you put as information.
How can applicants avoid the impression that a project is primarily a database or a platform project when the database is necessary to produce a new scientific model?
ERC doesn't fund database, that's clear. But in many fields, if you don't have a database, you cannot do research. So I mean, So I mean, yeah, we are used to have accurate eye to this, and you need to describe your database, what is the data scope, what is the data nature of data available, and then or you analyze them. So I mean, for me, it's difficult to separate the database from the ID because it's very much determined by the data you have available, but at least in economics. But I don't see that as an issue. But indeed, if your ERC proposal is about data collection, but not data analysis, just data collection, then you will have problem to get the grant probably, because it's not groundbreaking. But then if part of your project is require data collection in order to implement groundbreaking research, this is perfectly fine, and it happens all the time.
If you are looking to apply for an ERC grant, first of all, please consult the ERC portal, then have a look at the Horizon Europe dashboard. And while our colleague is delivering the closing remarks, we can post those links for reference in the chat. And if you have any further queries, please contact the EURAXESS representatives in your respective region or countries. I'm afraid we'll have to stop the questions right here. That's all we've had time for. Let me invite my colleague Carlos from China to deliver the closing remarks.
A heartfelt thank you to the speakers, to my colleagues for hosting this event, and to all the participants for joining, asking so many very, very interesting, very personal, but also very revealing questions for everybody else participating today. As Judith just said, we very much encourage you to read the guidance provided by ERC. Please engage with us at our respective regions and countries with questions. Our social media and our portals, which you can find by Googling for EURAXESS China, ASEAN, and so on. They will provide specific information about calls, if there's anything that is specific for regions, also in local languages. So please engage with us here at EURAXESS all over Asia. And that's all from us. Have a wonderful evening and best of luck with your applications.
Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much to our speakers. And I hope to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all. Bye.